Hey there, internet friends. Welcome to another episode of That Nerdy Site Show. We're the weekly podcast where the team members from That Nerdy Site get together to talk about our lives and all of the nerdy things we love about them. I'm your host, Trevor Starkey, and joining me once again this week, we have Cameron Abbott. How you doing, Cam?
Hey, what's going on, nerds?
What is going on, Cam, in that hot new Wave 3 mic that you're playing around with the mute button, and that's already, I know, going to bite us in the ass at some point during this episode if you're going to keep doing it.
Oh, no, I just did that to,
I mean, it just happened.
I was making
right there. It just happened right there.
I-
You got cut off right when you came back in.
Oh, did I?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll have to keep a mental note of that. Yeah, no, I mostly was just doing it because I know that something in my room was making a loud noise at the time. So.
One of the things to always keep in mind is, like, it might be loud there, but it might just barely pick up on the audio. Or especially with the Wave 3 mics, they do a pretty good job of auto-filtering out those kinds of things. Like, I can hear my air conditioning running, but, like, it never gets picked up on the audio, so we're good on that front. So yeah,
this
should be a fun new adventure here in Audioland, and hopefully prevent future potential recording faux pas, which we can't get into for embargo reasons, but we will maybe talk about on a future podcast. Because
we can talk about like what happened. I was using my headset mic and I didn't pull the headset mic down to activate it.
Yeah.
And so like we lost 2 hours of like usable footage, which sucked. Anyway, I've never felt so completely embarrassed by I should know better. I've been doing this for 6 years. I should know better. And I messed up like so royally on that one. It's just like it's so painful how bad that was. But anyway,
it happens. Life happens. Well, today we are going to be talking about Borderlands 3 a little bit, as well as Cam's kind of pursuit of PS5 games with the adaptive trigger feature. We're going to be talking a little bit about Grand Theft Auto Online, the TV series Invincible, that wonderful little adaptation, and then maybe a little bit of WrestleMania and wrestling news. Kind of peek behind the curtain. We're recording this Sunday afternoon before WrestleMania Night 2, so like I certainly have some Night 1 WrestleMania impressions and some ideas of where they're going to go with WrestleMania Night 2, but obviously some of that will completely be absolutely wrong by the time this episode goes live to people Monday morning. So yeah, we will talk a little bit about all of that. But before we do, a little bit of housekeeping for you. If you like what you hear, please remember to like, subscribe, rate, review, share the podcast everywhere you can. And if you're feeling extra generous, you can always support us on Patreon at patreon.com/thatnerdysite, just like all of our wonderful Patreon producers. A little bit of additional housekeeping as far as the YouTube videos that are going up these days. Check out this week. We will be continuing the It Takes Two Let's Play series that Logan and I have been doing with part 4 on Tuesday. And then if you missed it this last Saturday, I released an Emily is Away, the original game, my first time playing through that as a Let's Play, so you can go check that out with admittedly my very favorite thumbnail I've ever created, because I just went through like my old Facebook profile pictures and pulled photos to represent each year that is like the chapters of that game, and for pretty much anybody that listens to this or knows me from the internet, like this is all from a period of my life before any of you had any idea who I am, so it's largely something that you've never seen before. So go check out that thumbnail and the Let's Play as a whole. And this Thursday I sat down for Emily is Away 2. And all of this is basically building up to Emily is Away 3, which comes out on Friday, which we're all very excited about here at That Nerdy Site, and we will absolutely have kind of coverage and thoughts on that game when we can share them coming here at launch. So check out all of that good stuff over on the YouTube, youtube.com/thatnerdysite. Make sure you ring that notification bell. I hate every time I say that. It is the douchiest.
Hit the notification bell.
The douchiest sounding YouTube thing. Just click the bell icon so that you get notified when new videos of us go live. pretty much each and every weekday, either our podcasts or our Let's Plays, every Monday through Friday on that YouTube channel. So yeah, let's dive in there, Cam. Let's kick things off for you here with you mentioned you've been looking to play some PS5 games on your okay.
Before we get into that, I have to make a couple of comments. One, ladies and gentlemen, you do not want to miss the thumbnail Trevor made. It is spectacular. When he shared it in our Slack, we all popped off. We all thought it was great. And second, smash that subscribe button. Just ring that notification bell. Just go ahead and ring-a-ding-ding it. Ring it like you're Will Ferrell in the cowbell sketch. That's what I always think of when I think about hitting that notification bell.
Nice.
Just that ding, 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 ding.
Mm-hmm.
Can't go any more into that because, yes, I could completely do a perfect rendition of Don't Fear the Reaper. I won't, though.
Sure. Yeah. Absolutely.
Anyway.
That's absolutely what we would get from you on that. I will tying into that. I will say on that news you care about, Logan has set a goal for the end of the month to hit 250 subscribers on the YouTube, and we're at 248 right now as I'm recording this, as I'm looking at the YouTube. So I'm pretty sure we're gonna hit that. So maybe we might have to up that to 300 by the end of the month, but we will see. Also, I have no idea how many of those are bots. I feel like a lot of them are, but whatever, we'll take it. So yeah.
Are there bot YouTube accounts?
Oh, absolutely. We get for as small a site as we are, and as small a YouTube thing as we are, I get pinged at least once or twice a week with spam comments that I basically just have to go in and delete from our various videos.
Oh yeah, it's those hey, watch this full movie here at this website.
Yeah, those kinds of things. Yeah. And it's I don't YouTube just is terrible because it clearly continues to allow that stuff through. But yeah, they're
Trevor.
Whatever. Their algorithms are just garbage. But hey, they seem to be working in our favor, at least for the last couple months. So I guess I'll take it. Yeah. So let's dive in there then and talk about
PS5 adaptive stuff. So yeah, I think one of the biggest things that I walked away from, kind of my biggest impression from Astro's Playroom. So I played through it. I beat Astro's Playroom. Mm-hmm. I know I talked about it already, but the last time I was on the show, I think I talked about beating Astro's Playroom and how much fun that was.
I don't know if you've beaten it yet. Yeah, I don't think you.
I hadn't beaten it last time we talked. Last time I was on the show, I don't think I had beaten it yet. I beat Astro's Playroom, and I have to say, one, that game would have wrecked House on my Game of the Year list. Mm-hmm. That game is so much fun, and Astro needs to be he needs to be the definitive PlayStation mascot. He is adorable. Mm-hmm. I love his scarf. I love everything about him is super adorable. The other Astrobots are super cute. And one of my favorite things to do was whenever I started up, I would run to the back room where the consoles are, and I would turn all of them on.
Yep.
I was hoping it would pop a trophy, but it didn't. But that's fine.
There's some in there. There are some related trophies in there. If you hit the PlayStation on the PlayStation 2, that logo and turn it, I believe there's a trophy for that. I think there's definitely some stuff there. I think if you hit the eject button on the original PlayStation, I think
I did that. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think my biggest takeaway though was I really enjoyed the way the adaptive triggers get used to help give a sense of greater control on a trigger press.
With the jetpacks?
With the jetpacks, but also the gun that he uses at one point, at a couple of points, and I was like, this adaptive trigger feels awesome. Mm-hmm. The sense of just enough resistance for it to feel like you're actually pulling a trigger on something, which is a weird thing to say. Because here's the thing, I have a history of responsible gun use. I was a Boy Scout. We went skeet shooting all the time. I'm a good I don't know if I'm a good shot anymore. It's been years since I went shooting. I just don't find it that interesting anymore. A little bit distasteful, just with the current state of gun control in America right now. But growing up, I grew up, like a lot of kids growing up, like shooting rifles. I owned my own rifle for several years. Just like that was just kind of the thing that it was. Like I grew up shooting, and so.
So the feel of pulling the trigger and the resistance that it has, and
yeah. So when people say, "Oh, like video game," like the first time I ever heard somebody say, "Well, you shoot people in video games and it's the same thing," I'm like, it is not the same thing. There's nothing that compares to a like a PlayStation R2 button or a Xbox trigger and the actual feeling of a gun trigger in your hand as you're pulling it.
Yeah, like when it gets to the point where I pull the R2 button while I'm shooting a Magnum in GTA and the controller pops back and hits me in the face.
Yeah.
Then we'll go ahead and say that there's a little bit of a
parallel
similarity there. Now I gotta adjust for audio listeners. I threw my headphones off by doing that, by acting that out in the video. But yeah, like it is very different sensations.
Very
absolutely.
different. But the way that and the thing is, I'm not saying the adaptive triggers on the PlayStation 5 do that. They don't.
Right.
But what it allows you to have is a tactile feeling of something, like keeping itself in place. That feeling of pulling a trigger, that feeling of, the way Astro's Playroom does it is with the jetpacks, or actually one of my favorite things that it did was with the, in the jungle level, where you would have to use the, how tight your grip was on it. Like, that was really incredible, the way that it's doing that. And so I walked away from Astro's Playroom saying, I really want to play games that have more adaptive trigger stuff. So I looked it up, and I was like, okay, well, it needs to be a PS5 version of the game. Like, I don't have, I need to figure out, what game I have access to that can do that. And the answer came to me in the way of Borderlands 3. Borderlands 3 is a game I didn't finish. Notoriously, it was our game of the year, because it just happened to be a game that we all played.
It wasn't just that. It was that it ranked high, and it happened to be the game that we all played, but it was also high enough on people's lists, and because all of us played it, it had points from all of us that pushed it past the games that only 2 or 3 of us had played.
Yeah. So, and I was kind of a notorious stinker about Borderlands 3, the humor around it and everything, but also the controversies with Randy Pitchford and everything.
I mean, we all were. We all acknowledged that it had those problems. Again, it just it was. I don't think it was any of our game of the years that year. Personally, it was just it collectively had enough points to push it past. I don't know what else had come out that year, but any of those other titles.
And that's true. But the biggest takeaway that I have from it, so I hop back in. One, I will say, humor still isn't resonating very well with me. But I actually because I ended playing it in the middle of the Bayou level, the Bayou world, with the Jacobson family, and going through it, I actually found myself. I found the relationship between Hammerlock and Jacobson incredibly endearing.
Yeah.
There's some really, really fun moments between those two as a couple that are just really, really fun.
Yeah, they have a whole one of the whole DLCs is built around kind of their story as well.
Their wedding, yeah. I'm going to be picking that up and playing that one actually. But yeah, so I've just been playing through Borderlands 3, enjoying my time with it. I love the feeling of the adaptive trigger with it. It's going great. Just been enjoying that. I'm at the beginning of the end of the game, of the original campaign. So I kind of have to I've been putting it off, not wanting to go back to it in a couple of days since then, but I digress. That's basically where I'm at with it. Game's fine, but the actually shooting in that game feels so much better with the tactile triggers on it. So
Yeah, some others.
Or the adaptive triggers. Sorry.
Yeah, so the adaptive triggers are also really good on a lot of like the like bow and arrow type mechanics in some games. So like the Pathless is another one that I might recommend checking out. I didn't put too much time into that, but I remember like that being certainly an element of that. And I don't know. Obviously, I don't know any of the like the PS5 versions of any of the Call of Duties or anything like that. But I do know it's a feature on Fortnite, so I would imagine it's a feature in some of those PS5 like Warzone and
It's not
and Cold War
it's not
stuff.
a feature on Warzone. I tried using
On the
it
PS5
in Warzone.
Warzone?
Doesn't
Okay.
work. Nope.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't think there is a PS5 version of Warzone.
I feel like there's like
If there is,
I mean,
but
they-
also, let
they
me
always
also
do that
preface this
kind of
by
stuff.
saying, let me preface it by also saying, I am not re-downloading Warzone just to get adaptive triggers. That is too much to ask. I
that's
cannot
fair.
do that.
And that would be like half of your storage on your system. So
Yeah.
that's fair. Absolutely.
It already is half the storage on my system.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think the Avengers PS5 version has it for like, Black Widow and stuff like that, but not at all worth hopping back into that game. And I say that as like, a one of the bigger diehard fans of the game that put enough time into it. I would be curious if the PS5 Destiny version would have that stuff.
So I found out that I was using the PS4 version of Destiny, so I'm downloading the PS5 version of Destiny.
Yeah.
I'll be able to give you an update on that.
Cool.
But
It's
so
one of those like another one of those like, hey man, smart delivery on the Xbox, way better solution than what PlayStation does on that front.
yeah, because also it's not even easy to tell sometimes.
Yeah. Have they started?
it'll, like-
I saw somebody posting an image basically saying like, hey, do you want to be playing the PS5 version because you're about to load up the PS4 version? I saw somebody post that about Assassin's Creed Valhalla. And it's not something I ever saw when I was playing. Let's see, versions I've done on that would be like Sackboy, Valhalla, and Avengers. It was pretty much always like I had to know how to go in and make sure I was selecting the PS5 version.
Yeah, I have not
and
encountered
and Like a
anything where it
Dragon, I guess.
suggests-
Yeah, because Like a Dragon was another one.
Yeah.
But... Okay.
Man, that's a game I can't wait to get to. I'm very excited.
Yeah, because Like a Dragon, it's a lot.
yeah,
of fun.
But yeah.
Okay. Cool. Well, I look forward to hearing more details from your adventure there. I know one of the ones you and I have talked about, I don't remember if we did it on podcast or whatever, but Deathloop, which unfortunately, as we saw this last week, got like pushed back a couple more months. But like one of the big selling points for it is how they're going to use adaptive triggers to like represent like gun jams and stuff like that. So
I'm very excited for that, actually. Deathloop is probably, like, there's a lot of games I'm excited about this year.
Mm-hmm.
Deathloop is up there. Neo, The World Ends With You. There's a lot of really cool stuff coming out later in 2021 that I'm very excited for.
Yeah.
Something I forgot to mention, actually, in our pre-show meeting. And we can just kind of roll into this, but 2021 is also the year that the... let me actually pull this up here, because I don't want to, that's not what I want to pull up. Where is it? Here we go. Oh, what am I doing? I'm need to pull up Discord. Well, I have Discord pulled up with you on it. So, let me see if I can I share this with you?
I mean, please don't, because it'll mess up the camera on the...
Oh, will it? Okay, then I won't.
Yeah,
then I won't share it.
on the video recording, so no.
So Studio Chizu, which is a studio that did the Digimon movie, was their first movie. They also did The Girl Who Leapt Through Time, as well as Summer Wars. Really amazing studio, like absolutely stunning studio. They did Wolf Children, which is one of the saddest films that exists on planet Earth. It's really great, but just talking about 2021 releases on stuff coming up reminded me about this. I shared it with some friends who like anime, but they're doing an adaptation of Beauty and the Beast called Belle, and it is a very take some of your time, go check it out on your own time. I won't take any more time on the podcast about it, but I did want to mention it just because I stumbled upon it at 3 a.m. this morning, and was just like, what? How did I miss? I'm like, oh, I didn't miss the announcement of it. I was like, oh, cool, they're doing a new movie. I'll wait till the actual trailer comes out. Now a 70-second trailer got put out, and it's stunning, and I'm very excited. The reason I brought it up for you, Trevor, is because the character designer from Frozen, from Disney the Disney animated films since Rapunzel, the character designer and lead character designer is the person who designed the characters for this film.
Okay.
So it's super cool. This entire project is I read more up about it. It's utilizing a lot of really cool it's a collaboration between two studios, with Studio Chizo taking the lead on it, and they contracted out to the character designer to design them so that it has a feeling of, so it has a little bit of that Disney princess feel to the main character. She's the art in it is just stunning, which is not surprising. Studio Chizo is really, really, really good at what they do with just design and animation, and it's absolutely fantastic. So yeah, check out that trailer. It's coming out later this year. I'm super stoked. I'm a big fan of that studio, and can't wait for that, as well as 2021 is shaping up to be turning out to be a really great year for games for me. I thought 2020 was kind of gonna take the cake for a long while. Mm-hmm. Because there is not a, how do I put it? The tent poles for this year don't feel as big as the tent poles of last year.
Yeah.
But I'm being pleasantly surprised by being constantly reminded about all the really fun, awesome things that we're getting this year. Mm-hmm. Deathloop is the tent pole that everybody keeps talking about, and I'm super stoked for it because it's basically a 50s, 60s aesthetic, noir, sci-fi, game in with Dishonored mechanics.
Yep.
I'm so stoked for that.
Yep.
Unbelievably excited for that. So, and everybody's oh no, it got delayed. It's cool. Keep delaying it if you have to.
Yep.
I'm okay with that. Give me the best possible product, because when that studio delivers, they deliver.
Yeah, I was surprised, at least in my circles, how much of a non-story that was for as much buzz as that game has. I saw the delay announcement, but I only saw it once or twice being shared on my feed that day. So I guess everybody was just kind of yeah, no, we figured, or do what you got to do. I did see somebody laughing because somebody commented or whatever, basically assuming or arguing that it was an Illuminati type conspiracy from Xbox to hurt the PlayStation exclusive lineup or whatever for the. It's just
what?
All right,
gosh.
All right, calm down, crazy pants, whatever.
Just because Kojima's gonna be working on an Xbox title next does not mean Also, Kojima's work, it's not even an Xbox product he's making next, or an Xbox game. It's a Microsoft game, but it's because Kojima wants to make a PC game. And if you've seen Death Stranding on PC and the modifications people have done to it, you understand why. That game looks stellar.
It's interesting. We're diving into that news you care about territory at this point, but I haven't paid too much attention to the Kojima story and stuff, but I was just fascinated of if that is what ends up happening and he ends up making an Xbox game. It's fascinating to me that Xbox will then have access to basically Guerrilla's engine because Guerrilla gave Kojima that engine. That
depends if the engine he uses is going to be the same engine.
I'm assuming that he would continue using that engine or whatever, and just have Xbox kind of help tweak it and modify, because that's like they gave it to him like no strings attached or whatever. So like,
Oh, did they?
He
Okay,
can do it.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like there was a whole show of like they basically just handed it to him in like in a box. Like they basically gave him a thumb drive in like a nice little wooden box or whatever as like a thank you for coming to see our studio. We hope you enjoy or whatever. So yeah, it was just one of those things that like just popped in my brain the other day of like that's a very interesting potential dynamic in the like ever changing sphere of development. But moving on from that, one of the things I have been doing a ton of is I've been watching the Invincible series that has been coming to Amazon Prime. We are on episode 5 of 8 for this first season. I got into have like just off camera here basically like all of the Invincible giant compendiums that I got into when the series finally wrapped. It was a series I'd heard about for many years and did not want to get into, like similar to The Walking Dead. Like I knew kind of it had like a long lineage of and just like there's no end in sight kind of thing. So when there was an end in sight, I was like, oh well, I don't care about Walking Dead because I'm not a zombies guy, but superheroes I'm interested in and I'll check out. So when that one finally wound down, I picked those up and read through. I consumed all 3 of those like giant compendiums in probably like a week and a half or 2 weeks or something like that. I think I even talked about it in like old videos on the old Trevor Trove when I was doing like a year of daily vlogs and stuff like that. I'm sure I talked at length about Invincible because that's around when I was doing it. And I am just continually impressed by how great this adaptation is. Like they tweak the things that they should tweak, and a lot of them are like completely unnoticeable and stuff, but they're like almost always good adjustments. And it's great because I know the story and I know like big moments that are going to come.
Yep.
But like I've forgotten enough, especially from like the beginning of that 15 plus year saga or whatever it was, that like when new things come up, I'm like almost always pleasantly surprised by the twists at the end where I'm like, oh, that's right, that happened or something like that. Like I knew obviously the end of the first episode, the big one, I knew and was well aware that was inevitably going to be coming in the first couple episodes, and like that was what had originally kind of like sucked me in the first place. But like even smaller things like in this most recent episode, kind of a character turn that happens late in the episode, I was like, oh, that's right, cool. That's a very very nice little beat, little character beat that will have long lasting ramifications and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm loving it. The performance is great. The animation's phenomenal because they brought in a lot of the talent that worked on the original series. And in honor of Youssef, I will throw it out here because he is right. More people should be talking about this. The fact that the comic always had the Easter egg of Mark Grayson going to the Reginald Vell Johnson High School. The fact that they got Reginald Vell Johnson, a.k.a. Carl Winslow, a.k.a. I forget his name in Die Hard, but the cop from Die Hard. Al Powell, that's what it is.
Al Powell, yeah.
Yeah, the fact that they got him to come in and voice Principal Winslow at Reginald Vell Johnson High School is just a lovely full circle like Easter egg bit. And like,
also the first graphic novel is called Family Matters.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so it's just like so many great little things like that, little like things that are just kind of like fan service to the fans of the series. Clearly, obviously another one was like Seance Dog, which as they kind of came out and talked about like, yeah, we couldn't do Science Dog because there's rights and all that stuff around that, which was way easier to pull off in a trade compared to on a TV show. So they tweaked it to Seance Dog, and it's a fun little play on that whole thing. And yeah, I'm loving that series. I'm loving kind of where they're going with it, and I can't wait to see. Like it sucks that it's only 8 episodes because I don't know where that's going to like. I have a feeling I know where they're going to like end the season on a cliffhanger.
I do as well, yeah.
But I definitely want to like I'm going to then really hate however long it takes for us to get more episodes of that.
Oh,
that
I know,
series.
right?
It's gonna suck.
It's
Yeah.
gonna suck so badly. But it's gonna increase the people who are gonna buy the trade backs are like, it's gonna be insane when people like the pickup that is going to have for the comics.
Yeah.
Holy crap! Yeah, no, I love Invincible. I first stumbled upon Invincible. I was on an image board that was sharing like best panels in comics, and it's a panel from a later issue, like much later issue, way past like where the show is, where a particular very iconic character gets introduced, and it kind of turns it from being, oh yeah, like you got it, like they take this seriously, like it's bloody and brutal, to it is just straight up a like, this is what a fight between two of these people with like no emotional attachment to each other will actually look like. And like the brutality of that fight, what happens in it, everything is just like, and like the ramifications it ends up having for the entire like central cast, not just like Mark himself. And it's just, it's such a, like that panel, that one single, like it's a wide, like basically 2 pages wide stuff of like that those panels, and it is, I'm like, what is this comic? I looked it up and I was like, okay, I'm gonna start reading it. I picked it up and started reading it. Fast forward a couple years later, I'm hearing Greg Miller talk about like in a old Greg way, like we're talking like from like 7 years ago.
Wanting to cast Zac Efron as Mark.
Which works when you think about it back then.
Yeah.
Now, like the casting that they did for this is outright spectacular. I cannot believe the voice talent that they have lined up for this, the actors they have lined up for this, that are just picture perfect. Like, I'm like, at first I saw some of the people, I was like, I don't know how I feel about it. There has not been there's the only character I think is like, I still feel weirdly cast is Rex.
With Jason Matsukas.
Yeah, Jason Matsukas. I like Jason Matsukas a lot, but when I hear his voice, I can't help but picture Jason Matsukas' face.
Right, yeah. Like, it's, you hear that and it's like, I feel like, because, like, I don't remember how old Rex is, but I feel like Rex is like, I mean, he's on the teen squad or whatever, so I feel like he's like
18, 19.
Exactly,
like
and he sounds
young,
like a 30-some-odd-year-old
Jason
guy, yeah.
He sounds like a 40-something-year-old Jason Matsukas.
Yeah.
And, like, Jason Matsukas also is like, his voice isn't just iconic, his face is incredibly iconic. Like, in Big Mouth, he voices a character. And I can't help but feel when I hear his voice, he sounds like a 40-year-old. Like, I can't get away from it. So Rex is, also it makes it, like, his voice makes it really hard to, like give kind of like a benefit of kindness to Rex.
Yeah.
In a way.
He's always just going to be an ass. There's
but
that,
I
but
will
like,
say,
I mean, like, even in this last episode, the fact that you have, like, basically Academy Award nominees Steven Yeun and Mahershala Ali, like, facing off for a lot of that episode is just, like, the talent behind that. Obviously, J.K. Simmons, Academy Award winner.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
J.K. Simmons is incredible as Omni-Man.
Yeah, is phenomenal. So,
like, there really is, like, this is an all-star cast. Like, some of the people are like, that's a weird choice. Wrong. I was so wrong. They are, like, Steven Yeun as Mark is perfect. J.K. Simmons as Omni-Man. I was like, I don't know if I would have picked him. Nope, perfect.
Yep.
Like, everybody stands out as being just the perfect vocal choices for these roles. And here's the thing, I'm even wrong about Rex Splode and Jason Matsukas, because Jason Matsukas is able to deliver on a lot of those asshole lines that Rex has, because he has a lot of them, and just absolutely nails it. So, like, I'm even wrong about that.
The one I would say that, like, I hang up a little bit in that Jason Matsukas way is Walton Goggins as Cecil. I love Walton Goggins, and I think he's doing great as Cecil. But like I look at Cecil and I see obviously an older guy, so I like part of me is like, what would have been if like that was a Tommy Lee Jones type voice coming behind that, or if he just had like a little more gravel or a little more age behind it, as opposed to sounding again like Walton Goggins, who's not a significantly old man.
But it's also important to remember that like they even talk about in the comics that like Cecil's incredibly charismatic and able to like kind of capture you. So I see this grizzled, beat up face, beat up, agent, but then he has like this like a voice of gold.
Mm-hmm.
Like that works for me. That works for me so well. Like that was one that I was questioning at the beginning too. I was like, I don't know why they're gonna do this. I expected a more grizzled, veteran type character. But he plays it off so well with his not, let's say, fair, like very like flippant, very like the superhero stuff is so like whatever for him. Like it's just another day at work.
Yeah.
His kind of like this is the dismissiveness of his attitude about superhero stuff is spectacular, and I think the delivery on that is nailed every time. When he goes to talk to Omni-Man about, Omni-Man can't go to space right now because he just got back from the hospital or whatever. That whole situation, and Mark's like, I'll do it, and he goes, great, he'll do it, and it's just like Mark's a teenage, and he goes, he's the son of Omni-Man, like, of course he can do it. Like,
yeah.
This, like you guys are... That whole situation is just awesome.
And Zachary Quinto as Robot is another great pull.
Perfect.
Obviously, like,
Pitch
since...
perfect. Oh my gosh.
Well, I will always associate him as Sylar from Heroes.
Yes.
But, like, obviously his more iconic role is Spock from the J.J. Abrams film. So, like, that kind of, like, just emotionless character, is just perfect for what we see of that guy right now. So, yeah, it's just, like, there's so many, like, just, they just nailed so many other things. Like, even Seth Rogen as Alan, the alien. Like, I'm like, okay, I mean, like, I feel like I didn't need that to be a Seth Rogen kind of thing, but if Seth Rogen's the one that... It should have been Greg, is that what
it should have been Greg Miller.
I mean, that would have been funny. That would have been funny for a very small segment of the audience, and that's about it.
One of the, if not the most vocal Invincible fans of the entire franchise, to the point where he befriended Kirkman based off of off Walking Dead, of course, but also super into Invincible. Like, he's a massive Kirkman fan.
Yeah.
I'm surprised we didn't get that. But then again, Seth Rogen does a great Alan the Alien.
Yeah.
Like, he does a really great, like, Alan the Alien is an affable kind of guy, so you want that kind of Seth Rogen type character, like voice associated with them.
Yeah. Yeah. Wait, you're not Yorth? Oh, crap. Urath? Urath, yeah.
Urath. You're not Urath? No, we're Earth. Oh, I might just get fired.
Yeah. I look forward to seeing his kind of journey continue as well. And again, since he's one of the people that helped bring this to light, sure, he can cast himself as that. That's fine. I don't care. But yeah, I'm just loving Invincible so much. I'm very much like I just pulled out, this morning, like the compendium here, because I'm probably gonna like throw it by my bed and just kind of like enjoy reading that before, like enjoy just kind of revisiting the series before I go to bed here in the weeks to come, because I know I'm gonna need that itch. I know I'm gonna need to scratch that itch when the finale hits of season 1, and I'm like, there's so much more story to tell though. Tell the story, tell it now, please.
Oh gosh, yeah, no.
But at the same time, like
they're gonna end it.
I'm so grateful that it is being done as a series and not like, hey, let's tell it as like a trilogy of movies or something like that, because it's just 100%. Such a beautifully dense world that like, I mean, even like the stuff that we're getting where like, a beat of the Mahler twins story is being like told each episode or something like that. It's this much larger tale. I love that the show has room to breathe and tell kind of all of those little extra stories and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to just continuing with Invincible, and it like I was thinking about it the other day. I'm like, this might be one of like the like I know a lot of people put Watchmen up there, the film, as like one of the most faithful adaptations. In some cases, maybe faithful to a fault. But like, I would put this toe to toe. But like in the best of ways, this is like a near pitch perfect adaptation of already great source material, and they're just doing a great job of like, again, like tweaking what needs to tweak for the medium that they're trying to tell the story in.
And the age that they're telling the story in.
Yeah.
Like this
I mean,
comic
yeah,
started.
the fact that
Yeah.
that Mark's friend is already out as gay and is played by Andrew Rannells, best known to a lot of people from like Book of Mormon on Broadway and stuff. The fact that that character is already out is a very problematic character at the beginning of the series, because he has kind of some like, dude, this feels so gay when like Invincible like flies him up in the air or something like that, and like I remember reading that in this book and being like, oh my god, yeah, this didn't age really well from like 15 years ago or whatever, and then eventually over time that character in the series comes out as gay,
Yeah.
and
that's why
in
that's where his
retrospect makes it a
homophobia-
little bit better, but it that was like 15 years in real time before that got like fixed, so to speak. So
Oh, no, it was not that long. It was, and there's hints at the beginning too that because Mark's like, dude, like what, like why are you so, like there's as somebody who was in the closet for a really long time, it's real easy to fall into being critical of, like non-heteronormative stuff to try to mask and like obfuscate.
obfuscate.
Thank you, obfuscate. I'm like, normally I say this word all the time. I don't have a problem with it. Like you do that to just like kind of like get people, like try to get people off the set, like off the trail. Like hide the scent on the trail, throw people off, and it is like, so I get, like I kind of get where that was coming from, especially since like I think that it was probably always planned that would be the case, but maybe it's not. Maybe I'm reading into it too much because of my own personal experience. But I always found like when the character came out and it's just like, oh, you're out, and not only that, but like you right away have a boyfriend, and like,
And it's one of the other
it's just-
characters we had like met, early on in the series or something like that.
But I will also say that what's Mark's girlfriend's name?
Amber?
Amber, yeah.
Yeah.
In the comic books,
the fact
Amber's
that, like in the comic, she's, pretty blonde girl, and here they've gone with, an African American woman, kind of like, it's like, hey, that's a cool change. Doesn't really like speak to anything necessarily
played
inherent
by
to those
Zazie
characters.
Beetz, dude.
Yeah, Zazie
Played
Beetz
by
doing a great
Zazie
job there.
Beetz, doing amazing.
But it's like, hey,
no, but I also
that's,
found
that's a good, update of that character, I guess.
Yeah, well, like the idea of like Amber was considered the cool, popular girl, and the late aughts, early 2000 teens, like that would have kind of carried and felt more like your stereotypical blonde, like popular girl. But now in a modern sense, like popularity is not driven by like traditional norms of how people look. Like Amber is deeply involved in her community. She is like very cognizant of social issues and is very much a modern cool girl and popular girl, and is also like a total badass. Like she's awesome. I love the new Amber. It feels totally fresh, totally up to date with like where things are at now. So like in society, as to like what denotes popularity, as far as like people's actions. Because Amber, even though she kind of came off initially as a like stereotypical blonde, like the blonde girlfriend of the superhero, her character did have like some really good depth in the comic books, especially in later issues. Like definitely, like there's a lot that it sets up in the comics that is like very stereotypical, and then Kirkman later has kind of like really break the mold on what you expect out of those characters, like the kind of like super bro friend who makes gay jokes is actually a closeted homosexual. Amber, who you would expect to be just like the dumb blonde girlfriend, is like much more than that in the comics, and even more so now. in the modern take on it. So like they've definitely modernized it to an extent, not just with but also with technology.
Yeah.
Like technological stuff that was like cell phones are different now. These things that were like this is super cool and like future tech, but we're using it now is modern technology now, so there's no point to that. Like a Bluetooth headset, like that's a little bud that can fit in your ear. Like, oh, that's so futuristic. I have them on my desk over there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, totally normal.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like
Still
there's
haven't
a lot
come
of
up with
different stuff.
with the teleportation technology yet, though. So still got some time ahead of us.
Why are you in my house? Well, I was supposed to be outside your front door, but we haven't nailed it down yet.
Yeah. Yeah, you know how it is.
So
Sometimes
good.
these things are a little buggy. Yeah. It's
so
such a great series, and I can't wait to again see where it goes. So, enough about Invincible, though. We can throw it back over to you. We've talked a little bit on this show in the past how you're like clamoring and eager to get into something like the NoPixel Grand Theft Auto servers, but until that happens, you said you have hopped into just some of that basic boring GTA Online stuff. So what you been doing over there in GTA Online?
Well, so there's a recent promotion for the new online pack that came out, like the new online event, where basically they gave you $2 million. And it's like, oh, cool, I can do stuff in that game with $2 million.
Okay.
That's what got me into doing GTA Online in the first place, was like they gave me a bunch of money to go do it.
Yeah, and they're
like,
still doing
stuff.
they're still doing the thing where they like anytime you log in, they're basically giving you $1 million per month in the lead up to the PS5 version, right?
Yep.
Yep.
So yeah, like I'm enjoying that, but like what I realized
I logged in
is
and did that like once back when they first announced that thing, and I was like, "Yep, this just reminded me of all the things I don't really want to do in GTA Online." So I'm out.
There you go. Well, what I really enjoyed was because like my whole thing is like I do not want to play GTA Online like with like a group of friends or other people. Like I'm very much like I want my GTA like experience, and I'm not against it. It's just I don't have friends that are usually playing when I play.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, it's just a matter of like, okay, well, I want to do these things now. But basically, I already kind of like dipped my toes into the criminal enterprise stuff just to get the nightclub. But then the nightclub's like, yeah, if you want to like utilize all of our stuff, it'll be used for your other criminal activities. It's like I don't have any other criminal activities, like organized activities. So that's led me into recently in my recent playthroughs. I finished setting up the club. So I've now gone into like creating a criminal enterprise where I have a what in the world? Sorry, I have like some trash in my pocket that I pulled out. And
So
it's
I was gonna
sticky.
say I was hearing the crinkling. So
Sorry about that.
Your mic's picking that up at least.
Yeah. It's like it was like anyway. No, but I've been doing that and it's been great. Like I've really enjoyed it. It's really just been mostly this weekend. And like it's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun going through setting up my criminal enterprises, like investing in them with the money that I got from GTA just to log in. And like as my addiction to NoPixel streams gotten worse, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
I like
Last time we talked about it, you're like, yeah, Gary's not really doing anything like during the days or whatever. He does most of his streams on night. And now I get like daily notifications of like, mornings in Los Santos or whatever with Gary on NoPixel stuff. So I was like, oh, I bet Cam's, diving more into those.
Yeah, I've gotten like super into the Clean Boys, which is a group of they're like a quote unquote former criminal gang called the Lean Boys, because the Lean is like an emote you can do to lean up against the wall. So they were called the Lean Boys. Now they're the Clean Boys because they've gone legit, and so it's their like. So I've been following a lot of the Clean Boys, particularly Hassan Piker, who plays like the newest like core member of their group, Umberto Pecorino, who goes by the name Donnie. They're like it's fun. It's fun. They did a bank robbery yesterday that was awesome. They like I'm super into like what's going on there. But then I look at like what Gary is doing. Gary's also doing a like news guy at night running around doing like news reports. I've gotten into like following a lot of other people that are doing other stuff. One person who's like a concierge / like basically works for a concierge company that like basically runs security for like criminal stuff. That's been his name's Ray. He's a Rust streamer who's transferred into GTA NoPixel, and that's been awesome following him. Last night I just stumbled upon a random stream about a dude who was hanging out in a mechanic's garage where they had another person on the server get on top of a car and give an impromptu concert. And it was just like, and she's like out like singing like professional opera and stuff. And I'm like, I was not expecting this. What's going on here, man? It's crazy. It's good stuff. But yeah, I'm pretty.
You could have given me a million years, and starting with the prompt of, I was watching this guy and he was in a mechanic's garage. I never would have gotten around to, and it ended with a woman getting on a car and singing in an opera concert. Never could have landed on that.
Yep, that's NoPixel. Like that is 100%. Like that's the draw. That's the fun of it. Like you never know what's going to happen because you're talking about. At any given time, 160 people are all on this, like, there are rules of roleplay and in roleplay engagement that you have to follow, and they're very rigid. But the best part about that is that because there are strong rules, how people play around those rules and how they do it differently is how much fun it actually gets because of that. Because you can't just be like, I'm just gonna you shove me. Guess what? Pull out my gun and shoot you. GTA, man. That's against the rules. Like there are because that's that's not valuing life. And so like by applying these like rules to the server, it keeps things super organized. People are because like there's an actual police force and it's a very large police force. Made up of like dozens of people who work for either like the sheriff's office, the state police, like local PD, like a whole bunch of stuff is going on. And so like the cops make it so like, oh, we're going to do crimes. Ha ha ha. There are real cops. Like there are real police officers there are fake police officers in the roleplay server coming to get you. You pull off a bank job, guarantee by the time you're done with the bank job, there are cops outside waiting for you, just like a real heist. And it's about like getting away. How do you get away? Well, the current strategy is you get a hostage, another player. You hold them at gunpoint. You bring them as the hostage because the police have to follow the protocol, which is no matter what, the hostage's life comes first. So they use them to be like, you're going to let us get away, like get a head start. And then the chase is on. And then it's about losing the cops. Now, cops have to follow GTA cop rules, like where they can't break line of sight. If you break line of sight, like you start quote unquote getting away from them. Mm-hmm. And after a period of time, like if you've broken line of sight with them, they're doing the patrol searching thing, but like there's no meta breaking, so they don't look at your stream to see what you're doing or anything like that.
So what's to stop a crew basically from like having like an actor be the hostage for them or something like that? Is there anything?
People don't want to do that. Because you can go to prison for a long time for it.
Okay.
As an accomplice for, if you get left behind and the police find out that you were actually an accomplice, like you go to prison for just as long as if you had committed the heist yourself.
Okay.
And you get fined huge amounts for it. That's a deterrence. Is like there's a real prison system. There's a real like how that works. But I will say that the way that cops have gotten around the line of sight breaking, once again, there are rigid rules. So how do they get around it? The police have a helicopter. So there's a cop in the helicopter following the cars, never breaking line of sight. Mm-hmm. And so how do criminals react? Well, now criminals are doing everything they can to use tunnels and underground passes and train yards and overpasses on freeways and highways to break line of sight with the helicopter. And so it makes things so much more interesting. Watching people do the heist, like some people do it with like a heart monitor attached or like just a pulse monitor, mm-hmm. and seeing somebody's like heart rate go from being like a 90 to 100 resting rate like for like a pretty intense situation to like jumping to like 150 because like during the chase with the cops is so much fun. And it makes it so great. And even when the criminals get away, it's fun. When the criminals get caught, it's fun because a lot of people who get caught have like very like because it's like, like we know each other, like we've caught you before, like so there's a like there's a familiarity between the characters. And so some people are just like do the basic thing like, oh you pigs, da da da, like antagonizing the cops for catching you. But like some people like Hassan Piker.
I was gonna say, is there like a Jake Peralta and the Pontiac Bandit kind of relationship going on with some of these people?
There's several.
Nice.
And they're all different and they're all great. Like one of my favorite things is like Hassan, like I mainly watch a lot of Hassan Piker because Donnie is like one of the best characters in NoPixel. Where he's like he co-owns a legitimate business. He's a member of the Clean Boys. And so he goes, well, I don't do crime. I don't like crime. We don't like criminals around here. And it's like he's telling that to the officer who like arrested him during a bank heist like the day before. And so like the cops are like, yeah, sure, And so like you just have this stuff going on. Cops get a lot of heat from a lot of the players who don't recognize how important police are to the RP server. But anyway, like I'm so obsessed with it. Like I want to play it? Yes, but like at the same time, even if I never get into it, I'm still going to follow it and watch it because it's some of the best content on Twitch right now. And after a year and a half of I guess it's not really fully a year and a half. It's after a year of quarantine and the current, the situation with everything. Because it should be noted, we probably shouldn't be referencing the big C word, because that could help us. That could hurt us in the algorithm.
I'm less worried about any of that stuff.
That's fair.
I feel like they loosened up on that on a lot of that stuff like a while ago. It was really strict, maybe. Beginning, but
yeah. But yeah, no, with like the whole situation with that, it's made a lot of people who normally would like do a lot of other stuff. Like they have kind of like burnt out on a lot of their regular content stuff. And so you get really awesome content creators. Like I was talking about Ray C, he is a Rust creator and he just got burnt out on Rust. And so he's joined the like NoPixel RP server. And he's now one of my favorite people to watch on it. Hassan Piker burning through a bunch of variety games, like variety streamers. XQC, like the most popular streamer on Twitch, is actually currently banned for life from NoPixel. That was a massive thing that happened just last week. Just like he's like they're just like, we're done with you. Like,
did he just go on too much of a rampage or something?
No, because here's like if you go on there's a difference between going on a rampage and like what he did. He over a long period of time, he's been banned multiple times already for like just toxic behavior, like freaking out. Like XQC is very famous for being a freak, like freaking out on stuff. He freaks out about things a lot. I'm not a big fan of XQC. I know people who are. I have friends who are, but watching somebody just get triggered and flip out about something is just not fun for me. And so, and like a lot of his fans are a lot younger, and he like it drives home just a lot of like the lack of foresight and like somebody who's been streaming for the majority of their adult life at this point. And it's gonna be frustrating, but I digress. He's gotten banned recently, which actually sucks because he brought like a lot of like when he was into the roleplay, he was super into the roleplay and super dedicated to it and did a lot of awesome stuff. That made him like people really liked him as a member of the community, but he took things too far sometimes. And just like it just didn't work out because of that. So, which sucks because like I wasn't following him too closely, but having him pop up as a character in another person's stream meant fun stuff was likely to happen because he would do something fun or crazy or goofy or wacky. Like he even made hanging out in the casino, playing casino games like fun to have around. It was like having him around made it funner. So It's sad that that was the result of that. But you can't treat people the way that he was treating people, because he was treating other characters in NoPixel in their RP server like they were NPCs, not other player characters, and that kind of behavior just got toxic over a very short period of time. That just didn't work out, which sucks. But
Lame. I hate that. Like, I hate knowing nothing really about the scene. I hate hearing that, like, the stereotypical terrible game player is what is the number one streamer on the platform. Like, I hate that, like, Twitch has built a platform that, like, that elevates that kind of shit. That sucks.
Well, it's interesting because Twitch doesn't do a lot. Like, Twitch, XQC was not like a Dr. Disrespect or a Shroud or a Ninja, where they actively did a lot to promote him.
Mm-hmm.
He just has there are people who watch him for a variety of reasons. He's very much like, I would probably say, if I was to call him anything, he's the Howard Stern of Twitch. And I don't say that because of content-wise, like, similarity, but the reason why people, like, I remember, like the question is, how did somebody like Howard Stern get big? Because of the internet, we have kind of like a break in what was controversial at the time, which was when he was a disc jockey. He talked about stuff that was not okay, like not okay with the FCC, pushed a lot of boundaries, a lot of stuff. But the thing about it, that number one thing that people said that why they liked listening to him was they couldn't wait to see what he or hear what he had to say next.
Mm-hmm.
With XQC, most people who watch him are excited because they can't wait to see what he'll do next, because he does not operate like a regular person. And I shouldn't say it like that, because that makes it sound like he's like subhuman or something. He's not. He's a regular person. Like, he is a person, and from what I understand, people who know him and talk to him, he is a very genial person. He is very kind, but he gets into these. He is famous for heated gamer moments, and not like, oh, I'm a regular person that everybody likes, I'm super wholesome, and then I drop the N-word.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's more like I will go off in a toxic rant about how you're a bad player at this game, even though you're not. You just beat me, but I'm angry that you beat me, so I'm going to call you terrible things. That's one of the reasons why people watch him. So it just is what it is.
Yeah.
I also don't want to give too much hate to him, because he has definitely it sucks, because when he is cool, XQC is a really cool person, but when he sucks, he really, really sucks.
Well, I hate society. So, moving on.
Trevor, we live in a society.
Yeah. I spent way too much time digging into the history of that meme in the last week or so, because I was like, where the hell did this come from? Why is this and the internet's just full of fucking morons is really what it came down to, is just a whole bunch of toxic bullshit idiots, and Zack Snyder loves feeding them sometimes, and whatever, he's a moron. Anyway, moving on to the last topic of the show today. We are about an hour and a half here as we are sitting and recording this from part 2 of WrestleMania here in 2021. WrestleMania being a big deal, especially a big deal this year for the WWE, because it is their first time in over a year bringing audiences back in the pandemic era. They basically stopped having audiences shortly before WrestleMania last year. So WrestleMania last year was this weird, awkward, almost silent affair.
It was hard to watch.
They hadn't kind of moved on to, bringing in Performance Center people as a makeshift audience, so you'd have some kind of interaction. They were nowhere near the Thunderdome era yet of a whole bunch of, piped in audio and fan reactions on the video cameras and stuff like that. WrestleMania last year was a very, very weird thing, but it also gave me a couple of my favorite, one of my favorite matches. I hated the Boneyard match last year, which was the AJ and Undertaker match, because it just
loved it.
I
Loved it.
it just like my issue. Like I loved the idea behind it. I just thought it failed in execution because they rushed it too much or whatever. Because like for what they were doing, and they were trying to protect the Undertaker, who is obviously of an age where he's he gets beaten up pretty quickly and can't do prime Undertaker stuff. But the fact that like he looks so weak and beat up and just like out of breath for so much of that match just drove me crazy last year. So the one I really loved was the Firefly Funhouse match, the between Bray Wyatt and John Cena last year. I thought that was
that was great.
The Fiend and John Cena. I thought that was a
The
wonderful
Fiend and
like
John Cena?
deconstruction of both men's careers in
Yes,
a
it
way
was so
that
good.
could never happen in a traditional match setting. It was like the Matt Hardy Broken Universe kind of stuff, just amped up to the most extreme conclusion, and I loved that. That was like probably my favorite match of Mania last year.
It was mine as well.
Like you and I obviously used to have a very recurring Portillo's bets where we would, for every pay-per-view, we would kind of make our predictions, and the winner would buy the loser, or the loser would buy the winner Portillo's. And I almost always lost and almost always treated you Portillo's, except I won like WrestleMania one year, and I think even the fast lane before it or something like that.
You had a solid streak for a couple of pay-per-views.
Yeah.
I will say that, however, you like getting treated to almost monthly Portillo's as a broke college kid was the best.
There you go. Nice. But I think kind of in that time since, like, because we also went to like the Royal Rumble a couple years ago when it was here, and we had done an NXT show before that, and so we were comrades in arms in seeing shows for a while. But then we both kind of started falling off of it and just getting busy with other things. Like I haven't watched I was really never watching like the weekly television because I don't have anything to watch the weekly television on. And I was never going to sit down and like watch it on Hulu or something. But I
really
was
fell
still
off. I really fell off starting last year.
Yeah.
I would say.
Yeah.
Like I had already been kind of falling off of WWE. I was more on the AEW train at that point.
Mm-hmm.
But I fell off of wrestling real quick when they stopped having live audiences. That like this is an art form. This is a performance art form that needs an audience in some capacity, in some form. I can't watch wrestling in an empty arena or an empty facility. I can't. It's just like it's the saddest thing in the world. I had no idea. Like I had an idea of what it would be like, but like to see it happen, to see them televise it, to see all of this happen, was just so heartbreaking because you hear everything going on in the ring, you hear everything going on everywhere. You're not getting It's an art form that relies so much on audience participation in their reactions and the like noises they make, the cheering, the booing, the jeering, all of it.
Yeah.
All of it is just so necessary. I would have keeled over and died if I had watched John Cena come out to an empty stadium with his theme music playing, and there's nobody out there to saying John Cena sucks.
Yeah. Or Kurt Angle, you suck.
Yeah, you suck.
Do you suck? Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely been an interesting era, and I definitely like wasn't watching regularly or especially like even a lot of the pay-per-views. I was just completely skipping for the last year or two, really. I still regularly, like in my kind of like morning routine, is checking out Cultaholic and What Culture Wrestling and kind of their reviews and their wrestling news and stuff like that. So like I've been aware of everything that's been going on. Like I've been, I've watched Simon Miller ups and downs almost all the time. So like I've known the storylines as they've been continuing on. And when the Royal Rumble came around this year, I was very curious to see what the Royal Rumble was going to look like in a no audience atmosphere. And it was a very surreal experience because Royal Rumble last year was one of the last shows they had before they kind of sent the audiences home. So yeah, it was very, very interesting seeing how it all kind of played out. Yeah, with no audience this year. And so I sat down and watched it. I didn't watch it live as it was happening because Logan and I were recording the Emily is Away 2 stream, or Let's Play that will go up later this week during WrestleMania. But I watched like night one after the fact. And it was really cool seeing them have like an audience back. And they definitely need to like remember how to interact with that audience. Less so the wrestlers. I thought the wrestlers were probably doing fine with it, but like the technical, like the cameramen were missing reaction shots and stuff like that, and the audience did not sound mic'd in the way that they historically have been for big shows like that. So it'll be very interesting to see how kind of they come back to this era post pandemic. But yeah, I really enjoyed the shows, a lot of the matches that happened last night. I thought, in particular, Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair was a wonderful way to close out the show.
Match.
Incredible match,
Absolutely stellar.
Both of and that's another one. Like, even though I hadn't been watching the shows, I knew kind of the storyline building up to it, and I thought like the storyline weakened that, like the setup for that more than like it needed to. Because they did and it doesn't help that they're doing the same thing on like both Raw and SmackDown a lot of times.
Yeah.
Where in both Raw and SmackDown, like the two, the challenger and the champion teamed up to try and take like the women's champions. But then they were like, so they were thrown together teams, and then they, didn't work well, and so they, split up in the lead up to WrestleMania and stuff. And the fact that they did it on both shows is just like, why did anybody think that's a good idea? Like just copy and paste the scripts basically from one night to another. Why? Like, it didn't work the first time. Why did you think it was going to work the second? Whatever. So like, I wish I like had seen without knowing any of that, because like they definitely didn't focus on that in like the package setup or anything like that. It was just one of those like they knew enough that it didn't work to not highlight it in the lead up to the evening. But it was still a great match all around. Cesaro and Seth Rollins was another like standout match of the evening, I thought.
Oh my gosh, it was so good.
Especially
it was so good.
Like Cesaro has been like routinely one of those people that like everybody's like, he deserves, like he is so good that he deserves so much more than he's ever gotten. And so it's good to see him finally get like a spotlight on the biggest stage of them all. I wish so the whole thing kicked off after a weather delay. It kicked off with Bobby Lashley versus Drew McIntyre, who Drew McIntyre like beat Brock Lesnar for the championship at last year's WrestleMania to nobody, to no audience. It was obviously a big deal, especially for overseas audiences, because it was the first UK champion, basically first person from the United Kingdom to take home the big belt. And he was the champion for most of the year. Like, he lost to Randy Orton at one point, but then he got it back.
Yep.
And then through hijinks with The Miz, he basically got cashed in on, and then The Miz lost it to Bobby Lashley. And so, like, there was... I was of the hope that, like, they would give him that big, like, win in front of a crowd that he should have gotten last year. And so when they didn't do that, I was like, oh, that's a bummer. Like, especially as he... has been an outspoken, like supportive kind of guy, and did a great job kind of carrying the company for the last year. So it's sad to see him not get, especially the way he lost was frustrating, because it was like MVP yelled something and he got distracted. It was he basically went like squirrel, and then he ended up in a full Nelson hurt lock with and then got passed out and whatever. And it's just like that was a crap ending for a guy who had been such a good dominant champion for the year. But whatever.
And it's also like he's that entire the way that Lashley fight and the McIntyre fight has been building up and everything like that has just been kind of like
Mm-hmm.
But for somebody who carried the company through like one of its, if not its toughest time, I was shocked that he didn't win it back.
Yeah, I would have put money on like, oh, that's what's opening Mania. Well, they're going to kick it off with a good babyface win to get like the crowd excited for the rest of the night. And
nope.
And they didn't do that, and it was like, okay, well, that's a weird choice. The thing that I think probably surprised me most, though, was Bad Bunny, who, prior to the Royal Rumble, I'd never even heard
Dude.
of, despite him having like a record-breaking sales numbers and stuff on iTunes and stuff last year. Didn't know the
Yeah.
guy at all. So like when he came out for the Royal Rumble, because he had a Booker T song, I was like, okay, this is like a weird little tie-in, and they clearly seem to be going. He's Puerto Rican. I made the offhanded comment that they were going for like a the Hispanic kind of audience, and and then like he really put in the work over the last few months and had an incredible showing in his match with Miz, Morrison, and Damian Priest, and that was just like really cool to see. Like that was like the thing that I was seeing on Twitter before hopping in and watching it myself. Of like everybody was like impressed by him, and so shout out to him for really getting into it and going crazy, going hard, like as knowing that he was like a diehard fan. The fact that he got to do so many of those
Yeah.
things, the fact that he freaking did a Canadian Destroyer,
Dude.
was
Oh my
amazing.
gosh, that was so sick. That was so sick.
and
Oh my
and
gosh,
yeah, like
that made me a fan immediately.
yeah, the
I loved it.
Miz and Morrison definitely like put him over and made him look great. And so yeah, it was really cool to see. Like easily, I mean, like there's always that conversation of like the celebrities that kind of make their appearances. I mean, like until prior to this, I would say like Ronda Rousey was like the the best kind of iteration of that.
Yeah.
And obviously it led into her being kind of having a great kind of rookie year or whatever. But like I think he did even better, and even like he had just a better all around showing than even she did. Kind of especially given like expectations were on the floor for him. So yeah, shout out to him for doing like stereo Falcon arrows with Damian Priest and stuff, and yeah, just he had a great night. So yeah, I had no idea what that's gonna mean for him like moving forward, if he's gonna keep coming back here and there or what. But like even if he never does again, he had like a great one-off showing that is inevitably going to like top the lists of like best celebrity guest appearances in WWE from here till forever. Like it's like I would say it's him and Stephen Amell probably are like
Yes.
the top two I would think of, certainly in recent years.
Both of them doing like high flying moves and stuff too.
Yeah, so shout out to Bad Bunny, killing the game.
It was great. It was great, man.
Yeah,
That was probably my second favorite match of the night.
after
favorite match.
Sasha and Bianca.
No, actually, after Rollins and Cesaro.
Oh, okay.
Sasha and Bianca. My problem is that they did the same storyline that they've done with Sasha twice. It's my BFF. We're tag partners. I turn on you.
That's like I didn't think it was that story, because there was always like an like they were never BFFs is I guess what
true,
I would
yeah.
say is like their whole dynamic started when Bianca won the Rumble and basically said, hey, I'm gonna choose to fight Sasha at Mania, and then like just to tide things over for the 3 months between Royal Rumble and Mania, they were like, hey, let's throw them into a tag program against Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. And that gave, because I mean when it all started, Sasha was babyface after like her great feud with Bayley last year. So it was a nice, it basically served the purpose of turning Sasha heel for this, which I don't think needed to happen, but at the same time it gave Sasha a lot of fun heel spots in the main event last night. And the whip heard around the world with Bianca's hair whip was
Gosh, yeah.
was
Oh,
a
that was
thing
great.
to see and hear. And like somebody I was like, God, that sounded like amazing. And somebody said today it sounded like a kendo stick snapping. And then I immediately was like, I mean, they very easily could have had a kendo stick snapping. Like we did that all the time in like stage combat classes where like, oh, you take a hit and like instead of like the leg smack, you have just somebody off to the side, like actually like hitting a woodblock or something like that for a bigger pop. So like it's possible they could have used some trickery, but I mean, it definitely left a welt on her. So it wouldn't surprise me if it was like an all natural, just like they really nailed the sound of that moment better than I think they could have imagined. So WrestleMania Night 2 sitting here ahead of us. I will be very curious to see how the Daniel Bryan versus Roman Reigns versus Edge match turns out, because this is basically the first time really the audience has gotten to like see Edge in action since the Royal Rumble last year.
Yeah.
And so like even though he turned heel here at the end of this run to kind of set up for it, like I still imagine he's going to get cheered out the building. So do they give it to him?
Yeah.
Do they keep it on Roman? Do they let Bryan, get another, epic WrestleMania victory to close out the night? I'll be very curious to see how that one shakes out. I'm trying to think if there's any other like big matches tonight I'm looking forward to, and nothing really comes to mind. So I mean, like I think Rhea Ripley and Asuka will be a good match, but I don't know. Like the build on it has been like 2 weeks long, because it seems like a whole bunch of things went wrong in the lead up to that storyline with Lacey Evans getting IRL pregnant and Charlotte getting COVID like a week or two before the event. So yeah, seems like a whole bunch of things kind of coalesce to lead to that. But hopefully that it ends up with a good match. And they're both great performers. So yeah, that's my thoughts on WrestleMania. Again, like it's weird recording it here in the middle of WrestleMania effectively, but
Yeah.
it's also like nothing is going to end up bringing me back in as like a regular watcher, because I just don't care. I'll be interested to see whenever Becky Lynch comes back, because I thought she was obviously doing some great stuff before her maternity leave, but yeah. So that I think is going to do it for this week's episode. Thank you, Cam, for sitting down and talking about all this stuff with me. Let's go around the metaphorical table with any plugs we might have. You can follow Cameron at Rev Cabot. Anything you want to give a shout out to there, Cam?
Yeah, I want to give a quick shout out to our YouTube page. We are putting out podcasts every week. Our video podcasts are going up. Our Let's Plays are going up. We've really started kicking it into high gear. I have a project that I'm working on that is part of an embargoed game that we can't talk about, that I am so excited to share with all of you. And yeah, look forward to that.
Cool. Yeah, you can follow me at Trevor J. Starkey, and I will echo pretty much all that. We obviously the podcasts go up Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays. This is our Monday show. That News You Care About is our video game news show that goes up Wednesdays, and That D Plus show is our Disney Plus like watch along esque show that goes up Fridays, and then Tuesdays and Thursdays we've been doing Let's Plays for a few months now. It's largely been me, but occasionally, recently especially, it's been me and Logan doing a lot of It Takes Two. Cam will have some Let's Plays coming up, as he kind of alluded to there. Yeah, it's been fun, good times. And then occasionally I throw up like a bonus extra episode here and there. So check out all of that over on the YouTube, youtube.com/thatnerdysite. Again, subscribe. Click the notification bell icon, ring that bell, as them kids say, do all that fun stuff. And once again, if you liked what you heard, please rate, review, like, subscribe. Again, all that fun stuff. Ring the bell. And if you do feel so inclined, you can always support us on Patreon, patreon.com/thatnerdysite, where every patron gets early access to a monthly bonus episode of this very show, the That Nerdy Site show. This week's early access episode is Logan and I talking about some of our favorite TV shows growing up. But if you don't support us on Patreon, no worries. That'll go up live to everybody here at the end of April. And we'll have a new episode that'll go to our patrons at that point. Check out all that fun stuff. As always, thank you again for listening. Stay nerdy and be good to each other.